Hey, get in here. Dallas is about to start.
Welcome to another edition of the Ewing Barbecue Podcast, Southfork Experience 2025 series, episode 4 of this installment. Who knew we were going to come back for a second year of the Southfork Experience? But today we are joined by Sheree J. Wilson, April Stevens, April Ewing, April Alan will correct everybody, but we won't let him run, we won't let Alan run away with it. But and Cathy Podewell, Callie Harper Ewing, and also
Bravo!
Also joining us in this special episode are Alan Kattan, friends of Cathy and Sheree. And we have the honor of being joined by Emmy Award winner James Yarnell, who is a production designer.
Woo!
And James, you have an interesting story. Before we get into the others, and also another reason we're here is to pay tribute to our good friend Michael Preece, who left us this year.
Happily, Michael.
Who got promoted to the grand studio in the sky, as we say. And we will, of course, be talking about the Southfork Experience coming up in August. But James, just to touch on your background, you were came over from England, was it?
Yes.
And you were looks like one of your first jobs was a production assistant on JR Returns.
That is correct. I came over here traveling and heard they were doing JR Returns. Dallas had ended in 91. This was in 95. And I was told, I heard that they were going to do it, and I really felt it was something I wanted to go and at least see, if not be a part of. And through one opportunity or another, I got to Leonard Katzman, and he offered me a job as a unpaid intern on JR Returns. And so I was the set production assistant. And so I went down to Dallas. It was moved from the end of 95 to the start of 96. And I went down to Texas. The whole thing was shot in Texas on location. And I did like a month and a half down there. And we shot JR Returns down in Dallas. And I was there for the entire thing. And it was what I thought was a great thing to have on my resume for when I go back to England.
Absolutely.
And hopefully work in television, thinking I can go back with Dallas on my resume. And the nice story is that on the last day that I was there, I'd become friends with Larry, and he asked me what I was doing at the very end of it. He said, "So what are you doing next?" And I said, "I'm going to travel, go back to England." And he said, "Well, why would you do that? You just made all these contacts. You should look for other work over here." And I said, "Well, my visas only allow me to stay up till now." And he said, "Well, then how about I sponsor you?" And sure enough, he sponsored my green card, and I stayed. And I got my green card. I'm now a citizen, and I've been here ever since. And it all because of Mr. Hagman.
Wow,
Is that amazing?
That's amazing.
Go ahead.
And you came back as a production designer on Return to Southfork. You did a couple of these, a few reunion shows. You did was it Happy Days, Knots Landing, and Dynasty as well?
Yeah, I did. I started working in television I worked my way into the art department once I got papers, and I moved up to art director on Hollywood Squares. And when Hollywood Squares ended, the two producers, Michael Levitt and Henry Winkler, decided to move on to other projects. And one of them, the first one, was the Dallas reunion. And they asked me if I'd join as production designer, which was my first job as production designer. And of all things, it was Dallas.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so we went back to Dallas and shot that, which was so my first job was a production assistant on JR Returns, and then my first design job was on Return to Southfork. And then from that, we did do Dynasty. We went straight into a Happy Days reunion, then Dynasty, and then Knots Landing, or the other way around. And from then on, I stayed with as a production designer. What I've been doing ever since.
Now, just for viewers out there that are not familiar with production design, what exactly does that entail?
It's basically set design, but it's not called set design. But it is designing the set, and it varies from if you were a sitcom designer to a 1 hour drama designer to a variety designer. And my job on Return to Southfork as production designer, there wasn't a lot to do because we were at Southfork and the set is the house, but there was elements that need to be made and props and setups and scenarios and things that we had to set up there. And there was sadly there was a bigger stage. The oil baron's ball at the end of the episode was supposed to be in front of the house, and so there was a stage designed to go there so that the whole Q&A with the cast was done in front of the house. But the weather was so bad that there was a decision made at the very last minute that it was all moved into the inside. So there was a last minute scramble. So although Return to Southfork, there wasn't a lot of set to build, the shows that I do now, I do Jeopardy, I do Dancing with the Stars, I did American Idol for years, I do Real Time with Bill Maher. It's designing the set, and basically everything that you see on camera that isn't a person is the set, and that's my design.
That's quite the
Emmy Award
winning as well. And you also won some Directors Guild awards.
I just did 2 years ago, I did the Dick Van Dyke 98 Years of Magic special for the 98th birthday, and I just won the Art Directors Guild Award for that. Myself and there was two of us designed that. My good friend and I worked together on that. And we were nominated for an Emmy, and then we won the Set Decorators Society Award and the Art Directors Guild Award. And then the Emmy, I've had 11 nominations, but the Emmy that I won was for American Idol.
Ah, okay.
That's huge.
That is very big.
Oh.
And
yeah.
Obviously, Cathy and Sheree were not part of JR Returns or Return to Southfork. So how did you all connect?
Well, I will tell you that I remember being at Southfork and I got a note. Someone said, "Can you come and someone wants to talk to Mr. Katzman?" And I went over to meet this person, and I go out and there is Sheree. The pastor at Southfork had dropped by to say hi, and I said, they can't come. Oh yeah,
she can come in. Yes.
Well, I did read a source that
not exactly.
I did read a source that Lenny Katzman did actually proclaim regrets after JR Returns the production was done. He expressed that he felt so saddened about his biggest regret about killing April, wishes that she would have been on it.
And we're going to get to that.
He could have put me back in the shower.
Yeah.
That's the solution. It was all a dream.
But that's what I know. That's what I mentioned. But I don't know if Chuck had you under exclusive contract tied up.
In '95, he did.
Right, okay.
That was in '95. Yeah.
Yeah, '93 to 2001, I was on Walker, Texas Rangers. So I really actually could not have come back because I was already working full time. And
that doesn't stop people nowadays from doing multiple.
Had JR been,
we could have juggled the little.
Look at Sarah Paulson was doing everything that Ryan Murphy's ever done at the same time.
But I think had JR Returns been produced 1 year before, she would have, because that's the time that Lenny was the showrunner of Walker, Texas Ranger for that one season, and that was the best season of Walker, Texas Ranger.
But
I brought him on.
The timing of...
that's what you were. Kathy, you were on it
and
too.
I brought
Howard Keel.
I brought on Michael Preece because when you work in an iconic show like Dallas, and it's the biggest show in the world, Who Shot JR was seen all over the world, and this and that, and it's just running seamless. When Lenny left and Patrick left, the show was, it was in a whole different trajectory. But Leonard hired me on one of the projects he wanted to do. That was why he left. After he had 6 years of executive producing there, he decided he wanted to do something else. So he had Our Family Honor with Chuck and Chuck Gordon and Larry Gordon. And the three of them created Our Family Honor. And I was lucky enough to be cast by all of them.
Yeah, daughter of Eli Wallach.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was daughter-in-law. I married his son. So it was the Sopranos before the Sopranos existed. It was the Irish Catholic cops against the, against the mafia. And I was on the mafia side, so I was a bad girl. Ooh. So Lenny knew I could play a bad girl when he hired me. When Larry went into the office at CBS and said that everything is tanking, he said, I'll put up $1 million if you get Patrick back. If you'll put up $1 million and get Lenny back. And that's what they did.
Now,
And he said, if you do that, we'll last 5 more years. And thankfully they did that because Cathy and I came in on those 5 years.
I know.
now Larry didn't.
That's what drove Capiche. That drove Phil Capiche out.
Larry had Patrick took a jacuzzi and some Mexican food. He didn't have Leonard in the jacuzzi and some Mexican food too, did he? No.
No. But
It's
it all worked out just the way it was supposed to.
if you had known that there could have been reunions and stuff, would you have asked to be written off differently? And how do you think you would have?
Of course. Are you kidding me? Never asked to be killed off. They just might resurrect the show 20 years later. I was pregnant with my first child and I said, Leonard, give me the most amount of money for the least amount of shows and kill me off in grand fashion. I want to go out with a bang because I don't want to just fade away like milquetoast. She died of, some disease and he was like, okay. So I set the stage for him to machine gun me down on our honeymoon. How do you go out more grand fashion than that?
And you had La Lucci there.
And a note to self, never, ever ask to be killed off.
Well, according to me, Sheree, you
such
were
a
never,
dramatic way.
April never died. According to me, you all read my synopsis, so you know how this happened.
It was all
that could be a whole separate podcast. That entire synopsis.
That will be a separate podcast because we have 3 in us. There's always 1, 2, and 3.
Right. We'll hold that one for another complete discussion sometime. But JR Returns obviously came on, and I was actually talking recently with the actor who played Christopher. We're going to have him on at some point, Chris Demetral, who's going to come on at some point and talk about that. Michael Preece. Did you ever encounter Michael Preece, James, in your?
No, there was, because the next one obviously was more. Lenny directed JR Returns.
Then he passed away.
Obviously, he passed before War of the Ewings, and Michael came in for War of the Ewings, but I wasn't involved with that. And in fact, I knew of Michael, and the only time I ever met him was at the Palm Springs event 2 summers ago. But I never knew Michael, but I obviously knew of him. Right. And I knew he was tight with this group, but no, he wasn't involved with the ones I was on.
Let me tell you about Michael.
Yeah, well, that's a great segue moving into Michael. Before I have Alan tell us about Michael, Sheree and Cathy, what you both obviously worked with him on Dallas. What?
Go, Cathy.
What was it about Michael that formed this friendship that has lasted all these years? You don't work with somebody, you don't form friendships with every one of your directors.
Sheree, no. I mean,
he's
really
the best.
Walker. Yeah.
He's the best. He's the most. He makes going to work effortless joy. He starts the day with a joke with all the crew. He's completely relaxed. He said, okay, put the cameras here, and so that he and Patrick and Larry also had like a trilogy of, they were just frickin' frack and the other one. I mean, I won't say the Three Stooges because that gives a bad connotation, but they were funny, like the Three Musketeers. And it was never work, ever. No, it was just so much fun. And he was so easy. And he made every day was a party.
Do you have to?
You did. I looked forward, like if I got a script and I knew Michael was going to direct a particular episode, I would be so excited because it was like, I knew it was going to be easy. I knew he would be honest with me and not in a non-threatening, intimidating way, make a suggestion without like saying, you have to do it this way or give me a line rating. It just was fun. go play. And that's, when you get a director like that, that's, the best.
It's so freeing.
Yeah.
And you can try anything, especially, on both Walker and Dallas, but the Dallas set, everything was, off limits, on limits. It was like you could play as big as you want. They would use, the takes that didn't have Cathy and I exploding in laughter at his shenanigans. Oh my gosh. We were just you would turn your face and you'd be going like this.
Oh yeah.
And
Hysterical.
I would say, she can't even talk. She's laughing so hard.
Or crying. We'd laugh so hard that we'd cry, and the makeup people would have to come in, blot us up, get us back to looking normal. Take deep breaths so we were, composed, but it was the best.
And Michael used to say, how can you memorize your lines so well? He goes, why don't you blow them every once in a while? He goes, we're going to finish the day before noon. We can't finish before lunch. Everybody's been too perfect this morning.
Please screw up.
It was so
We need blooper reels. We need blooper reels.
Where are those blooper reels? That's a serious question.
There are some from the early
anyone know
years. Talk about, I brought this up with Deb Bernard and Deb Trinelli last week, who are also attending in Dallas.
Yeah.
And we might get them to sing for us, because they do sing.
Oh, I hope. That would be such
David
a
is
treat.
going to work on that. And
Good.
Deb Bernard might be bringing her singing partner, Al Sapienza, with her. So he might be joining us.
Wonderful.
But talk about the difference between someone like Larry and Patrick, actors directing, versus someone who's a professional director like Michael and others. Was there a difference in their styles, or?
Difference in style, I'd say, but not in their professionalism.
Right.
Right? I mean.
Right. I know, because an actor knows what it's like in front of the camera, and when they go behind the camera, they probably bring something slightly different than someone who's.
Or what about when they're doing both, acting and directing? Like Larry and Patrick have done a lot of those episodes.
Yeah, that always. To have that
Always.
kind of directing.
Or like Orson Welles.
Orson Welles, yes. You've obviously talked about Michael as a director and on set, but as a person off set, and the friendship that you all have, and Alan, how you got brought into this group too as well.
Well, you see, not only because Michael was a very special man, and always we loved listening to his classic stories about the golden age of Hollywood and how much he loved working with Marlon Brando. And the way I connected with him is from the time there was War of the Ewings and J.R. Returns, I had a Dallas synopsis prepared, of course. Initially, it was You in the Shower, Sheree. And there was, and I had it prepared. Then when I heard that there was a TNT Dallas reunion coming, I said, I got to send this to Michael Preece. I really got to. So I looked up on IMDb and saw a phone number and an address of his agent. So I mailed him in the mail the synopsis. Then 1 week later, I get a phone call from him while I was driving. And he told me, and he told me, Sheree was so amazed. She loved it. He told me. And that's how we made the connections. And then we started to have get-togethers, gatherings every now and then.
And you all were with him.
Michael loved this profession, and he loved people, period. He loved characters. He loved directing. He loved people. He just loved interacting. And it didn't matter who you were.
He was a father figure.
If you're craft service, if you're this person, it's that. He just loved to talk to people and be with people and ask them questions and tell them stories and make them laugh. He was quite the performer himself, because even though he had a very sly, he would tell his little stories, and then he'd wait to see the reactions.
You
He
see,
was
you
just
would,
adorable.
that looked exactly how he looked.
I know. He
Exactly.
was so cute.
Yeah.
So cute.
So
I wish
cute.
I had gotten to meet him in
Because he gets
person, but
stories
we
for life.
had him on the podcast a couple years ago. What a great episode that was! And
Yes, we were with
It
him that
was.
yeah,
time.
and we're
We were with him in
gonna
Quebec.
repost that up on YouTube. Right now, the video's only been available for our Patreon subscribers for some reason, but that's
Okay.
that needs to be corrected. Do you have a favorite memory of Michael?
I, I mean, I just have a general sense and a feeling. You know, it's what's the saying about how you don't remember specifics, but you remember how a person made you feel. You know, that's sort of the lasting. So yeah, always just the warm fuzzies. I don't know. There's certain people that come into your lives that you just feel a connection above what it should be. But there's an ease and a comfort, and like you said, Alan, he's sort of like was a father figure, but kind of not really. Just warm, fuzzy friend, but that warmth, that fatherly warmth. I know what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite thing is when he would tell the story of the dinner scene and how Patrick and Larry would play and throw their food, like put it on spoons, and they'd have a food fight, and how Barbara Bel Geddes, right, had a big scene at the dinner table one particular morning and came to Michael and basically said, Michael, you need to make the boys behave today. I can't have them throwing food. I need to be
the practical jokes of Larry and Patrick.
Yeah, exactly. And
They
I need
were
to
always-
be, I need to be present.
They were known for all that.
Yes, they were.
And then he spoke to Patrick and Larry, and they agreed. They behaved, but they didn't. And they, just started right at Barbara. Anyway.
Rolls,
But the
mashed
way-
potatoes, doesn't matter what it was. It's just flick, flick, flick.
Exactly. And she was very mad. But anyway, the way Michael told, so I could hear him tell that story.
And he told that story on here.
Patrick really I love the way Patrick was always to use his jokes to humor as if he acted as if he heard something for the first time. Like he told me, you put me in the shower with Sheree? Wow.
Oh, because of it.
Oh God, yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, what about you, Sheree?
I think there's too many favorite Michael's moments when I was on Dallas. I mean, he was just, and I knew he was doing it. He was just as much of a prankster. He had me in this running scene, and I knew it was coming up. And that week I ran the soft sand beach because I lived in Marina Del Rey, every morning from place of it. So he put me and my sister in running clothes, and we were supposed to run through the park, and they were capturing us and all this. And he goes, I don't think we got it. Do it again. So we did it again. She goes, do it again. Do it again. And finally I go, you didn't think I could run this far, did you? He goes, frankly, no. And so we just laughed. And I said, now you're going to have to take me out after the show to buy me a lot of electrolytes and everything else. Yeah, but we just laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. And my favorite moment is always looking over and seeing a twinkle and a smile. And if I kind of sunk at my thing, he would go, it was okay. I was like, oh gosh, we got to do that again. I did a stinker take.
You had the most on-set moments with Michael.
What's that?
And no actor had more on-set moments with Michael than you did, Sheree.
I know.
Yeah, I know.
He directed 60 episodes of Dallas, and he directed the most amount of episodes on Walker.
Yep.
You know what? I'm gonna take this back. I hate to be the hogger of time here, but I think my favorite moment for Michael is that we were failing on Walker. this is an action show that was so big and it had 2 units and this and that. These directors were like, they were like talking head directors. I won't mention any names. And we were doing 18-hour, 16, 18, 21-hour days. We had a 21-hour day where our crew walked off. I said to Chuck, you're killing our crew, and they will never come back. This is unfair. Just hire Michael Preece. Would you just do me a favor and listen to me and hire Michael Preece? So finally, the 21-hour day was the coup de grace, where the show was going to end. And he said, okay. He called CBS. He said, bring in Michael Preece. I said, he did Hunter. He did The Streets of Sensibility, I Spy. What he knows.
He directed
action.
Schwarzenegger, for
He
God's
knows
sakes.
Yes, he's directed everything, and he's always on time. He's always, he's the best. So
Yeah,
they all said, nobody can bring this in on 12 hours, which is the normal day. So the first day that Michael got there, he told a joke and put everybody at ease, like he always does. And then he says, okay, second unit, you're going to take this, here's your book. This is what I want for here. This is what I want to. Okay, right now, put the cameras here, So we went around a day. We were done in 10 hours, the whole crew and me. We all just bowed our heads. We were like,
where were you at the beginning?
And Chuck looks at me and he goes, when you're right, you're right. And he goes, okay, you're hired to do every other episode. So I got to live with Michael for the next 9 years. Every other week, we filmed for 7 working days. We had barbecues at his house, barbecues at our house. That's how we became very close.
And you still got shot on Walker, Texas Ranger.
That was an every other episode occurrence. That or being kidnapped.
What's Michael's legacy? That's
His
too
body
big
of
to
work,
talk about.
his kids, his grandchildren, his great grandchildren.
Exactly. His
Legacy or
children, his
his
grandchildren, just great grandchildren.
And
You
he's a
should have
great-
seen
he was
his
a great
memorial, his funeral. Go ahead.
Yeah, Michael he was a great grandfather.
wow, double, 2 greats.
Just that week that he passed
Lives
away.
up to Michael.
He was a huge family man. He loved his family. He loved the Dodgers. He loved work. He loved it all. And he was great at all of it. And how many men go through their life and can have that legacy?
And you're welcome, Michael. I say you're welcome for giving you Mookie Betts to the Dodgers. Kathy, Alan, anything you want to add about Michael?
Kathy first.
No, I think we've said it.
You mentioned
We miss him, that's for sure.
Yeah, but
our lunches.
But I think he has because Michael, we used to always gather for lunch dates every now and then, Michael, and that's what really missed listening to his classic stories. That's where we used to hear them. But you see also that Michael, another thing that I was thinking about, I think has the record of the most 1-hour drama shows directed.
wow.
Oh, really?
I think nobody directed more 1-hour shows than Michael did. He over 300 episodes.
300 episodes.
That's for
Wow.
sure. Alan, you are so right. And I vote on you. You're like,
Everybody's gonna know. It'll be.
But probably Dick would your friend Dick Van Dyke would know. I think the person who directed of all, I think like Jerry Paris, he directed half-hour sitcom. Only sitcom directors directed more episodes than Michael. I think Bill Asher and Jerry Paris.
Yeah. You mentioned
I love your knowledge.
You mentioned bringing Michael to the Palm Springs event, and which brings us back to James. You designed the set for that. It was quite phenomenal, and then you brought that to Burbank for the Hollywood show, and talk about creating that and what it meant to you to put that together. And I'm just gonna, while you're talking, I'm just gonna bring up some shots here of the set.
To be honest, I heard about the Palm Springs event. I heard it was coming, and I asked a couple. That's at Burbank.
Yeah.
I heard about the Palm Springs event, and I was asking what I was trying to find out. And I know Gary at Dallas Fanzine, and I was talking to him, and he put me in touch with Dan Gore at Oscars. And I called and said, "What are the cast sitting on?" And he said, "Oh, there's a platform." And I said, "Well, what's behind them?" And he said, "Well, nothing really. We might put an Oscars logo up." And I said, "Well, but what's behind that?" And he said, "Well, actually, there's a fence because we're doing construction." And I'm friends with Charlene, and I was thinking, well, you can't put Charlene in front of a fence. And I didn't really know more than that. And I said, how about and I think Dan was kind of didn't really have a plan for what the set was going to be. It was all about, I mean, it is all about the cast. That's the main thing. But I said, I felt it just needed something to lift it from being them sitting in a construction site. And so I said, well, how about we do something? And I said, if you leave it with me, I'll do something. And the thing is, Dallas, what makes Dallas so successful is the cast and it's the characters. So to try and pull scenery from it and to try and think of elements, you're limited to kind of the Dallas skyline, the Dallas lettering, the ranch itself, oil rigs, things like that. So I said, well, why don't I come up with a way of creating that behind them? And if we just have the letters and we'll put the word Dallas behind them, we'll put the ranch in, something's got to hold the letters up. So we'll put the ranch in front of the letters to kind of hide all the supports for the letters. And that's what I did. So I had it made. I designed the letters so that they had the Dallas skyline within the letters. And I made them and put them in a crate and drove them out to Palm Springs and set them up the day of. And nobody really I don't even think Dan knew what was coming. I just told him that I'd got something. And we just showed up, and there was, sure enough, was a construction site that they dressed to look very nice. I mean, it was all very, very nice, so it didn't look bad at all. But there was really just nothing. There wouldn't have been anything behind them. So I'm kind of pleased just that for the cast and for the event and for the fans that came in. It was nice when I was there when they started opening the doors and people were coming in,
and it was like,
and you got this reaction from people just because there was a big sign that said Dallas and there was Southfork and an oil rig. And it was nice just to see something to give it some production value. And that's, I mean, my job as a designer is to kind of, it's not to take away from what's important, which is the cast, but it's to elevate the thing. And it just gave a nice background of photographs. And it was just, that's basically what it was. So that worked well for that. And then I took it away and didn't really know what I was going to do with it. But then a year later was the Burbank show. And there was the talk of I was contacted by the guy at Burbank, and he said, could we borrow it? And again, I thought, well, I don't really want to feel like we just wheeled out the same old scenery. So I said, well, maybe we could do something else just to enhance it. When I heard there was such a huge gathering of Dallas cast members, and every time I spoke to him, it seemed to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I said, well, we have to, because there was a lot of other people at the Hollywood show, but the Dallas cast was the biggest gathering. And I thought, well, we need to kind of, Team Dallas need to kind of stand out. And so I said, well, why don't we put in the Southfork Arch? And we'll do that as the entrance to the Dallas area. And when I went to look at the space, and I thought, if we put the arch here, I'm looking at the wall at the other end. And I said, well, maybe we put a wall from the Southfork living room at the other end, and we can hang the painting. I have one of the paintings of Jock. And so we could put that at the other end. We can set the bar up and make it look like one of the interior walls. So that there was at least something new for the Hollywood show. So we did use the pieces from Palm Springs, but I didn't want it to look like, for people who were coming who had been to both, I didn't want people to think, oh, they're just wheeling out the old scenery again. So so it was...
Can you come over to our house later? I've got a few things I'd like to have a little spruced up.
And I'm going to...
Big Southfork Ranch gate. I don't know whether it's...
I know. In your backyard, I believe? Yeah.
It was just phenomenal, the coming into Hollywood show. And
you can feel free to browse in my personal page, and you could use any pictures you want for the...
Excellent. But just to see that arch and then the whole cast going straight down that hallway, and then at the end there was the Jock portrait in the living room and the bar and the oil derrick on the side, where a lot of people were taking pictures over there, and I have a picture of you with some of the others there, and it was just quite an amazing event. And now we have the Hollywood Southfork Experience year number 2 coming up, and Cathy's going to be there. Sheree's going to be there. It's going to be quite the lineup. Sheree, you just recruited Andrew Stevens is going to be joining us.
I did. Andrew lives here. And there was the Dallas film market and the Dallas International Film Festival and DIFA and all. I mean, there's so many overlaps that were happening. And his mother, there was a beautiful movie about Stella Stevens, and my publicist was there, and I had contacted Andrew about a separate project, but he was producing and directing something on his own. So when Prudence told me that she saw Andrew Stevens, and he said, I wonder why I don't get invited to these Dallas things. It's right here in Dallas. I want to come. So I called him up and I said, do you really want to come? And he said, of course I do. So I called David, and David said, we'd love to have him. Are you kidding me? I just didn't know how to get in touch with him. And I said, he's right here in Dallas. It's so easy. So he just got joined to into the fray and into the mix of all of our delicious fun. And
hopefully we'll be able to have him on at some point. I don't know how we'll get in touch with him.
You should. He's really a smart director. He produces his own films. He's in Arkansas right now, directing and producing another one of his features. Oh. So he's gone on to have a really, really nice career. I mean, as everybody has, but no, he's a sweetheart, and he and Lucy were quite the thing.
And then there was that where you and Lucy found out that he was playing both of you, and you set him up at the end there.
Yeah, we did.
He was getting a little too big for his britches. He needed to be brought back down.
So is that?
Yeah, we had to take him down a few notches.
And
we were good at that.
Also coming this year, we have the big ones: Linda, Patrick, Steve, Charlene, yourself. Christopher Atkins is coming back. Cathy's coming back. Josh Henderson and Jesse Metcalf are representing the new series. And I tried to get them to bring Kevin Page, who lives in Dallas. He played Bum on the new show. He actually killed JR. But maybe next year. Who else is there? Amy Stock. They are having... Jenny Lee Harrison is being joined by Priscilla Barnes and Joyce DeWitt from Three's Company. A little side shoot there. And we have Joan Van Ark is bringing Michelle Lee and Donna Mills. Deborah Nard,
the divas.
Deborah Nard and Deborah Trinelli are bringing the Ewing Oil secretaries to bear there. And hopefully we'll get them to sing. What was it like last year for you, the first time through with this event? Kath?
I mean, it was amazing. It was so well run. It was smooth, effortless. I was so impressed, like the ticketing, even just the simple tickets as part of your package to each event that they had were completely separate and like a souvenir keepsake. Yeah, just really, really well run. David did an amazing job.
It was really
and it was the first one, and there's usually in anything that happens for the first time, there's kinks, and it was amazing.
And best of all, we were able to be with you again, Sheree.
Yeah, she left us for Dallas. She doesn't live in LA, where we
used to gather for our monthly lunch all the time.
As far as the Southfork Experience, it went off seamless. That never happens in a first run. David Hainan this is not his first rodeo. He does Fanboy Expo.
Which you'll be at in the month before.
It's huge. And it's in Knoxville, it's in Orlando, and he knows how to put these things together, and he's just such a pro and such a delight to work with. He made it fun for
And he has a
everybody.
bunch of you going to Knoxville. Barry Corbin is going, Josh Henderson, Patrick,
Yeah,
not Kathy, Charlene, Linda, Steve,
he needs to bring you,
Jenny
Kathy.
Lee. And
I'm calling him tomorrow.
there's someone that's going to be there that was
Make a deal. Got Andrew, I got Kathy.
another Dallas alum
Come
will
on.
be in Knoxville. Kate Mulgrew, who played Garnet McGee in 1979 or 78, 79, around there.
Yeah, I don't know what to expect. I've never been to one of the big expo things, but I do know that, I mean, personally, it's like old home week, being with all my friends. It doesn't matter how long ago it was that we stopped working together. We get together and it's just like, we just pick up right where we left off. And it's nothing but fun, laughter, joyful storytelling, remembering. It is such a blessing and such
And
a
Alan's
gift.
been brought in as an honorary family member. I feel like I've been brought in too, just with all the.
He's our expert on everything.
I even feel like I've been brought in. Deb kind of have pulled me into the family too. So it's James is joining us this year too. Have you found out what your role is going to be there this year, James?
I wasn't involved last year, and I didn't feel. When I heard it was at Southfork, I didn't feel I needed to try and get involved because I thought, well, the ranch itself is scenery enough. And then this year, David approached me and said that part of it isn't at the ranch; it's at the hotel. And he asked if originally it was could he borrow some of the stuff that I've already built for Palm Springs and for the Hollywood show. And again, I feel it's, this is a much bigger event than either of those, and we should come up with something new. So I had a conversation with him the other day, and I have some ideas of what I'd like to take there. I mean, the dream would be, the thing that people are going to recognize is the interior of Southfork, and I would love to do a bigger part of the interior of Southfork, but the bit that everyone recognizes is that staircase, and that's not a cheap thing to build or move.
No.
So I'm working on different things, but I have an idea of what I want to do on the stage. I think that there's going to be, I'm hoping to go down to Dallas in the next couple of weeks and meet David down there. We're going to go and take a look at the venue. And then I'm going to, depend on the size of it and what it looks like, I have a plan with what I want to put on the stage, so that when there's an interview or when there's the cast gathering and they do a Q&A, there's something again behind them that just enhances it and lifts it from putting them in front of a hotel wall.
Right.
So I have some ideas, and it's just the logistics of building it, taking it there, standing it up, and then whatever we do with it after that. But but the idea is just really to go to the hotel and to try and maybe put the Southfork Arch in, but just to give it a lift so that we feel like we're in something a little more, to make the experience, it's an experience, and we want people to go, and primarily they're there to meet the cast and to see the cast and to listen to the cast, but just to go, something to like enhance it and make it feel like it's an event, and it's a Dallas event, not just a
convention hall.
Hotel room. Exactly.
Right.
And it's what the conversation I had with David is, it doesn't take a lot to lift it, and if people have an opportunity for something they can take photographs in front of, and like the Jock Ewing portrait against the wall in the Hollywood show, if people have something they can take photographs in front of, that gives them, it's exciting for people to do that. So it's just to try and give it a lift from. I've heard all about how good it was last year, but if I can add something on top of that to kind of make it a little more special, then that's what my role is.
And
and it's always nice.
I'm sure you can.
I know.
I know this year people have asked why it's at the hotel, but they're apparently doing renovations out at Southfork, and that space that we had last year was not going to be available, is what I've been told. So a lot of it.
That's what.
And we will be in the air conditioning at the ranch, at the hotel too. So I know August is not the ideal time to be in the middle of the Texas heat. Sheree, you probably
that's when you'll bring your props, right?
Yeah.
You're probably familiar with that. What are you most looking forward to from this weekend coming? I know you have the auction is coming back for Yellow Rose, so you might want to talk just a moment about that. The auction.
For the Yellow Rose Gala, we're definitely David and the entire cast and everybody involved is very magnanimous and incredibly generous, and just the fact that he was like, and we want to do another, auction for the Yellow Rose Gala Foundation, which, if for those of people that don't know, is a very Dallas specific organization, yellowrose.org, and it is 100% of all the net proceeds goes to MS research, and that's very near and dear to my heart because my first agent, Vicki Light, has got MS, and now I have, sadly, about 6 friends with MS at the moment, but it's not a death sentence anymore, and these research dollars have just become brilliant. UT Southwestern and the International Global Alliance has taken everything that we've raised and poured it into research, and the people that are living with MS right now have this new medication, and they don't even feel like they have it anymore. It's been a brilliant year, I have to say.
That's
so we're
great.
going to keep going till we eradicate this disease.
Exactly. Are you going to ride in on horseback like you did at the recent gala?
One never knows, does
No.
one? I have to keep you guessing.
No. Before we wrap up, I'll quickly touch on the schedule that weekend. There's going to be cocktail hour is going to be at Southfork in the house. That's going to be on Friday. There's going to be some VIP things. That's for VIPs. There will be tours of the ranch that will be going back and forth, but we'll have a lot of autograph sessions, photo ops. I know David's been going over with me, what combos do we need? What combos of people? And I was like, well, you need Sheree and Cathy, so that's up there.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to the most is to put another chapter in Cathy's fan page.
Yes. Cathy.
Oh, shameless plug time.
Spoken like a true manager.
And Vince will be joining us, and Steve will be joining us.
Of course.
Good.
Honey, we live in Dallas.
Exactly.
This is our town now.
Exactly.
Absolutely, Vince will be there.
William Keck is doing the Q&As again this year.
He's great. He's wonderful.
The greatest American hero.
There's a barbecue, the Ewing barbecue. That's just, you can't have a Ewing barbecue without the Ewing barbecue podcast, which is why we'll be there covering everything again like last year.
I'm going to come back to this. Do you know what they forgot last year for combos? They did not have April and Bobby.
That's right. David mentioned that, and now he has it this year. And I was looking at the list.
People kept saying, "Why did you have Patrick with you?" I go, "It's not my show."
Here's another thing he didn't have that I know of. This year he had Patrick and Jesse Metcalf. I did not see Linda Gray and Josh Henderson down for a combination either. So I said, you got to put that up there. You got to put up the Ewing secretaries for a combo, and you got to put up Charlene and her mama Joan Van Ark.
Well, also Charlene and Andrew Stevens. There could be a trilogy there with me out the side.
And
Only Dallas style.
But there'll be the Ewing, there'll be the barbecue.
Is Jack going to be there?
What's that?
Jack
Scalia is not going to be there this year. I think they wanted
Jack
to bring
Scalia?
some. Yeah.
Andrew Stevens and Jack.
That would be interesting. Then there is the brunch on Sunday, and it's going to be a full weekend, just like last year, and we'll all be in the same hotel. And one other thing I wanted to ask before we wrapped up, when I was talking with Deb and Deb, D1 and D2 as we call them, Deb Renard said that over the years it seems like the line between the celebrities and the fans and the involvement in the show has just blended, and we've all become one. What's it like just the fandom mean to you, and just the experience of being with the fans and everything?
If we didn't have fans, we wouldn't have a job. They are our complete, the complete reason that we even exist. It's a joy and a pleasure to meet. For me, it tickles me to no end to see some of them get all excited, and I'm just like, you know what? We're all the same. It doesn't matter. But, we show up on their television in their house they think they know you so well because you're there every Friday night. But I absolutely love these events because I get more out of them than I could ever give. That is for sure, because it just means so much to me to know that there's so many people out there appreciating the work and that they just show up. It's wonderful.
Cathy?
I was going to say, 34 years after the show, I think 34 years after the show completed itself, that boggles my mind that anybody cares, and that they show up and they're so, you're right, that familiar, you're in my home for so many years. And I know I have that with my own shows that I've loved through the years. Mm-hmm. So I get that feeling. It's just, to be on the receiving end of it is quite amazing, for sure.
So get your tickets at southforkexperience.com. They have all the photo packages. Everything is up there. Final messages. Let's just shoot around. Alan, do you have a final message for everybody out there?
Yeah, my final message is, Michael, you're always with us, and we love you forever.
James?
Amen.
James, do you have a message?
Mine is nowhere near. I'm just pleased to be very excited. Dallas was the start of my career, and Dallas has been bizarrely kind of guided my career, and I wouldn't be here because of it. So the fact that I'm able to kind of do something to kind of promote Dallas in its own silly way is really exciting, and to be here with you guys has been really exciting to be a part of this. So
we're looking
and
forward
not
to
your silly way, a very meaningful, elevating way. I am so excited to see what this guy does.
Exactly.
James, can I just ask?
It's just there's no just. Stop that.
James, how old were you when you came over from England?
I was 24 when I was 25 when I started working on Dallas. On JR Returns, I was 25. So I grew up watching Dallas. Obviously, I was 9 when JR got shot, so I knew the show and I knew the show well. And then I was 25 when I started working on JR Returns.
It's just amazing his trajectory. That literally was the start.
You guys were only a couple of weeks behind us.
Mm.
Yeah, I think so. In England,
in England, only a couple of weeks.
Yes, that's right.
And that was
you didn't need to or voiceover.
Right, exactly.
Right. And that was filmed right after Larry's liver transplant. So that was.
That was why, that was why it was pushed, because originally it was going to be, I think his liver transplant was August, September, somewhere around there, or maybe earlier than that, and it was going to be November of that year that we filmed it, of 95, and then it got pushed to March 96 because they felt he wasn't, although he was doing well, they didn't feel he was strong enough to fully portray JR. So it was pushed for that till the spring. And that's why it was moved.
And he kept showing off his liver scar to people, I heard. Cathy, final messages for the fans and for everybody out there.
I just want to thank everyone in advance who are planning to attend the Southfork Experience. If you came last year, I look forward to seeing you again for sure. And I'm looking forward to whoever we haven't met yet. It's just fun to be. I'm so familiar with so many names on the fan page Sweet Alan has done for me, but also just my own interactions a little bit on Instagram. And so I know, meeting somebody go, oh, you're blah, blah, like I feel like there's already like a little connection, and then I get to meet them in person, and it's such a thrill. And I know that Sounds crazy, but it is true. So I'm really looking forward to see who's there this year.
Yeah. And you got to meet Callie the dog
Well,
out in Burbank.
Exactly.
Oh, yes. And we
And
also met Callie, a girl named after a Dallas man.
A husband and wife showed up with t-shirts saying, "We named our daughter after Callie Ewing," and had a big picture of me on their t-shirts. So sweet. So yeah, there's a lot of Callies out there, and I'm like, where'd they get that inspiration for that name? Yeah, it's really fun.
And Sheree gets the final message to the fans before we wrap up.
well, y'all better get down to Dallas because we're waiting for you. It's like, it's a dream come true. Moving back to Dallas, loving living here again. And everybody, all the friends, all the fans, all my friend cast members, it's like one delicious family reunion. And we are going to do it Ewing style. And it's going to be magnificent.
And maybe we'll get
Go
Deb
big.
and Deb up there singing.
We've got, and just watch out because Michael and Larry Hagman shenanigans are all going to be sprinkled through. You know, you never know what's going to happen.
On that note, thank you for joining us. This has been the Ewing Barbecue Podcast, Southfork Experience 2025, Episode 4. That's a mouthful. Stay tuned for future episodes. We're going to have David Hainan on in June. We're going to have Charlene and Lee McCluskey, who's going to be there as well. They're going to come on together. I think we're working on trying to get Patrick and Jesse, Linda and Josh, and I forgot to mention a big name that's going to be there. Susan Howard is going to be joining us.
She is going to join this year. That was a real gift.
Maybe we'll get,
because she doesn't do it.
Maybe we'll get
often.
Steve and Susan to come on here, and we might have the women from Knots Landing joining us too. So stay tuned for future episodes. Go to the Ewing Barbecue, ewingbbq.com for past episodes, future episodes. Southforkexperience.com for tickets and schedules, and if you have any questions about things, post them up in the comments sections and we can ask them to David Hainan. And Sheree has a question.
One last thing though. I have a question.
Oh, you have a question?
If you have a smartphone and it has a microphone, you say, pull up Dallas episodes. And Shazam, there they are. They're all there, and you can start rewatching any Dallas year episode you want from now until August. So we'll see you there.
It's pre-gaming. Yeah.
That's right.
Amazon Prime.
Pre-gaming.
And that's
Thanks, Josh.
all we've got for you.
Thanks, Josh.
Well, I started out on the set as a script clerk or script supervisor, the stopwatch on the thick script. And I learned a lot from bad directors and some good directors. I worked with everybody from Louis Milestone to Tom Grice, and I don't know, Sam Peckinpah, a lot of famous people. And I learned a lot from them, but I learned most from bad directors. Don't do this. Don't over-direct. Don't tell them, I had a couple of instances where I gave a line reading, and then I realized that is so stupid. Don't do it the way I did it. But the 20 years as a script guy, I learned a lot.